Boom. Keep them coming.
What's going on, everyone? Bobbybarks here, and welcome back to this bonus video. It is essentially episode 15 of Bobby's journey, my FM23 journeyman here on YouTube. I'm not playing any games in this one. I'm not progressing any dates in this one. We are staying on the 17th of June 2034. We've just won the African Champions League with Orlando Pirates. And I just wanted to go through a few things that we don't really get the opportunity to have a look at in some of the other videos that we do, because otherwise the videos would be too long. But this essentially, I just wanted to go over some things that are occurring within the game. What I didn't allude to in the second leg of that Champions League final that we've just played is that that was my 600th game in management. So from the start, which was what, 11 years ago, I think. No, this is episode 15, but I think we're 11 seasons on, 12 seasons on maybe, because we start in 2022. We've played 600 games. So we had obviously a huge stint in Asia, and then a couple of years in North America, and now a couple of years in South Africa. But this is kind of my overview of what we've done. For some reason, I can't get some of the other screens to load. It's just coming up with no data. But this gives you a bit of an overview. So, number of club manager jobs, we've had 5 jobs. The longest time at a club is 1,049 days. The shortest time at a club, 749 days. Essentially 2 years. We've won 34 awards and earned over 2 million in career earnings. Total game time, 4,373 days. Time spent on holiday, 1,297 days. I don't actually holiday any games, but what I do to try and speed the game up is, particularly when transfer windows have closed and there's not a lot going on in between matches, I will holiday in between games. So that's a little bit of a trick that I try and do just to progress the game a little bit quicker, so I can get videos out for you on time and more regularly. So yeah, we've spent some significant time on holiday because of that. If I'd holidayed through the games, then the stats at the bottom of the screen don't appear. So you know, if you do play this game and you want to try that you know, you don't get the stats below, so you don't get to have played the games or won the games or drawn them, lost them. It goes against your assistant manager as opposed to you. So that's evidence at the bottom that I've not holidayed through games. I just holiday the time in between games to speed things up. Players bought. We've bought 167 players in 12 years. It's a hell of a lot, isn't it? We do like as little rebuilds while we're in there. Transfer value, £139 million we've spent in our 12 years. That's quite a lot, considering we've not really been at any big club. Players sold 123, generating 124 million. So we're 15 million over. I'd like to think that by the end of our career, we can look at that and we've actually recouped more money than we've paid out. That'd be an interesting challenge, wouldn't it? I think I might set myself that, hopefully, that we can actually recoup more money than we've spent. The highest fee we've spent was actually Alejandro Medina on the 25th of June 2030, 4 years ago, when we paid £9.5 million for him. He was the left-footed centre-back that we signed at Monterrey in his first season. And the highest fee we received was £25.5 million for Luis Uribe on the 5th of 8, 2030, when again that was at Monterrey. He'd come up through the youth ranks and I gave him 6 months in the team. And then, was it Liverpool? It was either Liverpool or one of the German clubs came in and bought him for £25.5 million. We paid £675,000 to agents, and we've released 13 players. Most of those players we released have either been at the end of the contract or youth players that we're never going to get a sniff. So Orlando Pirates stats are at the bottom, but the overall career stats, as I said to you, we've played 600 games, won 461 of those, drawing 88, 2 fat ladies, losing 51 games, scored 1,485 goals, only conceded 481, that's 1,004 difference, with a 76% win percentage. Hey, how good are we? We've won 9 cups and 2 leagues while at Orlando Pirates, but overall We've won 20 cup competitions, 12 leagues, and only ever had one promotion, which came at Persicat Tegal when we first started. So after that, you know, after we got Persicat Tegal into the Indonesian League 1, as it was called, we haven't needed to play in a lower tier than the top division of any league. So we've only ever had that one promotion, at no relegations, which is pleasing. So yeah, some of the other screens aren't loading for some reason though. So if I look at my job history, it's blank, which is a bit odd. I don't quite know what's going on there. And if we look at my biography, it's blank. It tells you when I was born, but that's it. Normally all this and all this is populated with what you've done based on those stats from here. So I'm a bit not quite sure what's going on. Manager timeline, as you can see there, it talks about where we started, and then you can play this and move through this, showing where we've been and what we've done. But I think what I'll do at the end of this series, once we've looking at retiring, we'll come through this in more detail and have a bit of an overview of everything that happened to us during our career. So this is my profile. We're known for leading teams to title wins, possession-based style of game, wanting high-tempo pressing game, signing players of a high reputation. I'm a bit surprised about, because I don't think I've done much of that. Signing players from the domestic game, signing under 23 and under 21 players, signing younger players for the future, avoiding players approaching the second half of their careers, not wanting to sign players who are arguably past their best, and preferring not to sign players approaching the end of their career. The best relationships I've got seem to be with some players that have played with me and some coaches that have been with me. Some of the players there, Fadilla. I'm very close still with Fadilla. If you remember him, he was our striker at Persicat Tegal. In terms of reputation, we've now a 4-star. We've now got the Continental Pro license, and that experience of Sunday League footballer is still there. In terms of languages, we speak English obviously, but apparently according to this we speak Indonesian, Spanish, Chinese and Korean. Yeah, could get a job as a translator somewhere. These are the attributes. So attacking and defending's increased significantly. Don't have much to do with goalkeeping or fitness. Tactical, technical, mental are all pretty average. Working with youngsters is only 11, which I'm surprised about, because it says I like to sign players under 23 and under 21 for the first team. Adaptability is 2, which is ironic because I feel like I'm quite adaptable given I've managed in 3 different continents so far. Determination and player knowledge is 11, youngster knowledge 10, level of discipline 20. Get told, boys, get told. People management 19 and motivating 19. Pretty good motivator according to those stats. We like to play a Gen press with the 4-3-3 DM wide formation. That formation's been an absolute beast for us. I think I mentioned it in one of the previous videos that, you know, I feel like it's I've broke the game with the formation. I mean, you see loads of formations online that you can download and use, but nothing's ever worked as well as that. That, you know, it's a hybrid of a formation I downloaded that I then just tweaked myself a little bit, and ever since then I've just kept it with every team I've been at, and it's just been hugely successful for me. I hope it continues to be successful in FM24. So I showed you Terry Yagby in the previous video, but now I'm going to show you Risky Fajar, who is a scout. He's retired from playing football now. He was one of our best players at Persicat Tegal. Exceptional talent for us there. Really helped us achieve some of the goals that we achieved. He's got quite extensive scouting knowledge, to be fair. Indonesia, Malaysia, Holland, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Argentina. It's just a shame that his ability and potential is only 5. Because if he was higher, you know, if he was like a 10 or a 12 in that, I'd be tempted to take him on as a scout and take him with me wherever I went, and just because he's my pal. A bit like Terry Egby's come and join me at Orlando Pirates. So yeah, really pleased for Risky Fajar. He never left Persicat. He stayed there all his career, certainly from the time I got there. I'm pretty sure I didn't sign him. So I started there in 22-23. I'm sure he was already there. I'm sure the club must have already signed him before I started. But yeah, you can see the average rating we had with him in League 2 there, 7.37. And then he continued that in the following 2 years with 7.1 average ratings for us. He had his best season there in the League 1, 7.32, with 3 goals and 3 assists in 25 games. What a player he was for us. Absolute world beater, I want to say, but obviously not. But, you know, he'll live long in the memory, will Risky for Jar. When it comes to Persicat, though, they did win a title after I'd left in the 27-28 season, winning the title there over Arima. They finished runners-up the following season in 28-29, and then finished third in 20-31-32, and third again the following season, and then runners-up in 20-33-34, the season that's just finished. Persija winning back-to-back titles there. Ironically, they got relegated when I was at Persicat into League 2. But have clearly come back up and started dominating again. They are a big club, Persija, from Jakarta in Indonesia. One of the biggest clubs, or the biggest club probably in Indonesia. So it was a bit surprising that they did get relegated. But, you know, they've come back with a vengeance and taken over the mantle as the best team in the division for the last 2 seasons. When it comes to players that we had at Persicat, Hannibal sticks out more than anyone else, really. He followed me to CZ Mighty Lions, and then to Gang 1, and then to Monterrey. Because we had a bit of a downgrade when we went to Orlando Pirates, I couldn't sign him for there, but he has since left Monterrey and gone to Flamengo, so he's back in his home country playing at a Brazilian team. Ironically, I nearly ended up at Flamengo myself. That would have been irony, wouldn't it, if the pair of us had arrived there under at different times back together again. But yeah, I didn't end up getting the job at Flamengo, so we stayed at Orlando Pirates. But yeah, Hannibal is there, 27 years old now. He was one of the first new gens in the game, so despite the face, if you've been with me all that time, you'll have known that I created that new gen face for him, rather than using the computer versions. So, yeah, he's playing at Flamengo now. Centre midfielder there, doing well back in his home country. Fadilla, who we have that strong relationship with, he retired at the end of the 2032-33 season, so he's been retired a year now. Didn't have the best of seasons with an average rating of 5.27 and no goals in 30 appearances. Considering where I left him off at when he scored 25 and 27 and then 17 and 30. He was very prolific, and he continued that for a couple of seasons afterwards, to be fair to him, but then absolutely just dropped off. 5 in 23 and 28-29 season, and didn't score any more than that for the rest of his career before he retired, and he's now a manager. Doesn't have the best of stats. I won't be signing him, I don't think, as a under 21s coach like I did with Terry Egby. So yeah, but Fadilla is a manager of his own account. Would be nice if he became the manager of Persicat at some point, wouldn't it? I think the only other real player to show you from the Persicat days would be João Pedro. He was one of our big signings, signed him for 37,500 at Persicat when we got promoted to League 1. He had a decent first season, but he really come and shone in that second season with 14 assists and 8 goals in 30 appearances. Only had a 6.9 average rating, but it was enough for me to think I'd take a punt on him and take him to CZ Mighty Lions with me. But unfortunately, he just didn't replicate that. He had a decent first season, but second season, as you can see, no goals, no assists in 10 appearances with only a 6.57 average rating. So we did let him go. He went back to Indonesia, went to play for one of Persicat's rivals in Arima, and did okay, I guess, right up until he was, I think he's been released by them at the end of the season, because it doesn't look like he's got a club. Yeah, he is available on a free transfer. I have a quick look at his information. He's considering his options, but he's got no plans for the future in the short term. Favoured personnel, Bobbybarks is still on the experienced striker that he is. Not quite sure whether he'll go into management. There is no staff attributes there, just his attributes for playing. So he may just retire and not take up a staff job in the future. But 65 goals in 197 appearances for Arima. Not bad, I guess. CZ Mighty Lions, on the other hand, have been really good since we left them. They had a bit of a sticky patch for 4 seasons after we left, so we won the title in 2027, and then after that they finished 3rd, then 2nd, but then 2 years in a row in 2031 and 2032 they won back-to-back titles before finishing 3rd again in the recent season. They're halfway through their current season for 2034 and they are top of the table again, so it'd be interesting to see where they finish up. I think one of the main players to show you from CZ Mighty Lions is Douglas Basul. He was the guy that we signed to play striker. He was absolutely formidable, 27 goals in 28 games for us when we won that league, and we signed him for 500,000, which was a fairly significant outlay for a club of that size. But he's stayed there since, banging goals in left, right and centre, leading that line for CZ Mighty Lions. Really seems to be enjoying his time there. 165 career goals in 302 appearances. Top player. His stats haven't changed much too. He's only 27 years old, still got 16 finishing, composure of 13, and his stamina and strength 12 and 11 respectively. Technique of 16, just not the quickest, which was one of the letdowns I always felt with him. He's only got a pace of 10, and because he's not super strong, he's just limited in those physical abilities. But other than that, he was a very, very good striker and continues to have been a good striker for CZ Mighty Lions after we've left. Dylan Pierias was the right back that we signed. He was a good player coming from Australia that come and played for us at CZ Mighty Lions. He's now retired, not gone into the staffing game. Like to think he's sat drinking Foster's or Castlemania 4X somewhere in Australia with his feet up on a table somewhere. 141 appearances and 8 goals for CZ Mighty Lions. But if you remember, he was a prominent figure in that team that won that title for us. Nice to see that he's retired and enjoying his retirement somewhere in Australia. I think the only other player to show you that's still around at CZ Mighty Lions that was prominent for us when we was there is Lee King. If you remember Lee King, he's still there, still at CZ Mighty Lions, still flying down that right-hand side, providing support to the attack. It looks like he's dropped back into a right-back role. He was midfield attacker right for us, doing okay down that right-hand side with some assists. But yeah, it looks like he's dropped into the right-back role after Pierias retired or fell out of favour, so he's taken up the right-back slot there. But yeah, still at CZ Mighty Lions. Was a big outlay for us, 2.5 million, but still there, still competing at the top of the table with us. And we've left Gang 1 in an exceptional position. Although they went a couple of years without winning the title, they finished 2nd and then 3rd. They've won back-to-back titles in the last 2 years and are currently sat top of the table in South Korea. They seem to have replaced Jeonbuk, which was always our intention, wasn't it, if you remember, that we were going to try and compete with them in year 1 and then topple them in year 2, but you know, we managed to pip them to the title after they had those end of season collapses. Managed to pip them to the title in both seasons that we spent at Gang 1. But yeah, despite having a couple of years of not winning the title, Gang 1 have won it back to back and then continue to be top of the table for a potential successive 3rd title there in South Korea. Really pleased for them. I'm glad all these teams seem to have been winning titles again after we've left, because when we took them over, they were, you know, like Gang 1 are nowhere down here, are they? And it was a similar case with Persicat and CZ Mighty Lions. So even after we've left them in a good position to continue winning titles despite us not being there. I'll start with Pedro Henrique at Gang 1. He was a player that we signed for our 2nd season there. He wasn't with us in the 1st season that we won the title, but we managed to pick him up from Jeonbuk as a £1.5 million signing. Fantastic centre-back. He's dual nationalities, Brazilian as well as Korean, so he met that homegrown quota for us to play in the squad by having dual nationality. But he has been fantastic for them since we left as well. He's been a prominent figure in that defence and helping them to continue to be successful. Great player. There his stats. I mean, his physicals are unbelievable, his mentals are pretty good, and his technicals are okay. He could have gone on to play for a better club. I'm sure he could have disappeared off into the sunset somewhere at a bigger league. But he's chosen to stay there, and fair play to him. Seems to be enjoying his time. I didn't actually realise he'd been at Gang 1 before in 2025. It's quite interesting. I feel like we've took over Lee Bum-Young. Stop it. He was the left winger that we had. He could also play attacking midfield centre. And he was one of our best players. But for some reason, they've let him go on loan to Gimcheon this season. Or last season, maybe. I don't know. He's not been at Gang 1. Let's just have a quick look at his stats. But looking at his attributes, he's still fairly good. Not quite developed as much as I expected, but he has had 5 caps and a goal for South Korea, so he must be doing okay. And as you can see on the right hand side down here, he's scored 31 goals in 165 games. Let's have a look at his career stats. Yeah, so he spent 2 seasons on loan at Gimcheon, which is a bit strange, and he's done okay for them, but prior to that he was still doing okay for Gang 1, so I'm a bit surprised they've let him go, but, they're winning titles, so they're making the right decisions for the club, I guess. Just a bit surprised to not see him at Gang 1 anymore, given how good he was for us with those assists in these 2 seasons here. I'm starting to wonder about Gimcheon. I know there was this odd ruling, wasn't there, in South Korea, where when the players got to a certain age, they went off onto military duty, and I think they went and played at another club, which might be Gimcheon. Thinking about it, looking at this, there might be like an army club or something that the players are allowed to play for when they're professional, whilst they're enlisted in military, because they're conscripted, aren't they, in South Korea? They have to go play. I think only people that have won like Olympic medals or World Cups or something are exempt. So like Son Heung-min that plays for Tottenham won the Gold Cup with South Korea, so was exempt from having to go play, having to be conscripted into the armed forces. But Jo Young-suk seems to be back at South Korea after his loan spell at Gimcheon, and he's still scoring goals. He was the striker, if you remember, that was quite prolific for us, particularly in this season. 29 in 32. And the last person to show you from Gang 1 is Adam Idar. If you remember, he was the first probably recognisable player from FM that we managed to sign for one of our teams when he joined Gang 1 on a free after being released by Norwich. So he was our striker for a period of time, and he's still got fairly decent stats despite being 33 years old. Let's just have a quick look at his career stats. Left Gang 1 to go play for Lech in Poland, where he scored 5 in 8 in his first season, and then 10 in 29 in his second season. But yeah, shame to see him leave Gang 1, but again, I guess Gang 1 have made the right decision for the club, given that they continue to win titles. And you might be wondering how Monterrey have got on in the last 2 seasons that we've not been there, and the answer is that they've struggled. They finished second in the opening stage of the first season we had left. They didn't finish in the top 2 in the closing stage, and the season that we've just played, they didn't finish in the top 2 of the opening or the closing stage. That's a little bit disappointing that they're the only club. I know it's only 2 years, and some of the other clubs like Persicat, CZ Matlines and Gang 1 went a couple of years after we left. We're not winning the titles, but hopefully Monterrey can get back to business and win some of those trophies, because we did leave them with an exceptionally good squad. I think some of the problem is that they've sold some more players. So if we look at the transfers ins and outs, although they spent a fair bit of money, of 46.5 million in the season after we left, I'm not quite sure some of those signings they've made have been any good. Luis Uribe came back on loan, which was the player that we sold for 25.5 million. But transfers out, Hannibal obviously left. Alejandro Garcia, which was that left winger, left as well. Thomas Correa left. Montellano left. I know they've got big money for these players, but it's left them in a bit of a pickle. There's some top players that they've let go. And likewise, in the second season, they've generated another 70 million. So Candido left, who was a fantastic player for us, and Paulo's gone to Leeds. Two really, really good players. So those two and then Hannibal were pretty good players that we had that helped in that midfield. So a bit surprising that they've let so many good players leave. But I guess that's why they're not winning titles anymore. Maybe they can use some of that money that they've generated to invest it a bit more wisely. Maybe some of these players that they've signed, where they've spent 24 million and then 46 million, they've spent 70 million. They've spent a good chunk of money. Hopefully it's on players that have high potential and high ceilings that will come good in the next year or two. So that's it for this little bonus video. I hope you've enjoyed having a quick look over some of the players and some of the teams that we've been at, some of the history of what we've done, and seeing where some of those players have ended up. That is it for this little bonus video. When we come back for episode 16, we'll be back at a new club and hopefully a new continent, looking to rebuild some sort of fallen giant into a dominant team in their league and continent. Europe or South America awaits, but where will we go? Really appreciate your view. If you want to leave a comment down below, please do leave a comment, particularly if I've missed anyone that you wanted to see, or like I said in the previous video, any real players that you want to see how their careers developed or finished, whether they're still in the game from a coaching, scouting, manager's point of view. We can have a look at anyone that you might be interested in. Leave your comments in the comments section below. Please like the video if you liked it. It helps circulate it around YouTube within that algorithm that nobody understands. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe, and then you won't miss another video, will you? You'll see it every time you go into YouTube. So yeah, thanks for everything. Thanks for your support. And if I don't see you, have a great day, and bye for now.